The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acomb. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and in that studio this morning we have candidate for Corning Mayor, Pam Walker. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Frank.
We're going to learn about your background and about you, but why did you decide to take the big leap and get involved?
Well, it really all came about because I've been involved in the comprehensive plan update process. Right. I retired from a teaching career during COVID. There was a lot of nothing to do. And in a conversation with Bill, he'd invited me to be a part of the Planning Commission. So when the comprehensive plan update came up, it was something I was really looking forward to doing. I had a previous career as a city planner before moving to Corning. And so then later on down the line, when Bill said he was planning to step down, he asked me to think about becoming a candidate for mayor. I just thought, no, I am not a politician. This is not me. But it ended up being something that I decided could be really helpful in terms of implementing the comprehensive plan.
So during COVID, when people were making their own meals and knitting, you decided to work on a comprehensive plan? That's kind of unique.
Well, a lot of this was Zoomable. And actually, back then, it was Planning Commission.
Just Planning Commission, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Now, you said you were previously a city planner. How do you think that will translate to the job as mayor here in Corning?
Well, I think it's helpful because I've seen how different government systems have worked, local government systems. I was a planner in California. I was a planner in Phoenix, Arizona. I was a planner in Central Florida. I know how government works, and so I'm pretty well prepared to come in and be a part of a city council because I've seen them before.
Now everybody's asking, why did you go from the warm weather to Corning, even though it's a beautiful day today? But why did you come here?
What a great question. My husband is an optics engineer, and we were considering a move up here for his job at Corning Incorporated, and he said, my wife will never move to a colder, smaller town. But I came here and I fell in love with it. I grew up in Pittsburgh. My dad's family's from central Pennsylvania, so this was kind of like coming home for me.
What was it that attracted you when you first got here to Corning?
I think the history of the place was part of it. Sure. We were living in a cinder block ranch house in Florida, which was beautiful weather, but not that attractive. Corning has so much charm, and I think everybody who lives here values that. But I think the other thing was that at that time, the big watchword in planning was traditional neighborhood development, where you could live in a community and walk to your job, not those kinds of subdivisions with curvilinear streets and things. Corning had that. And you drive down Denison Parkway and you see the Rockwell Museum building, and you can't but help being impressed by the city. That's
true, and we talked about your past in city planning, but tell us a little bit more about your background. You just announced kind of recently, I know, the petition process, which we're going to talk about and complain about here in just a moment. But tell us about your background for those that don't know you.
Okay, well, I've been in Corning for 33 years now, which is hard for me to believe. I've raised two kids here. They are both fine young men working and living in one near Corning, one out in Idaho. During that process, I got involved in everything that my kids were a part of. I was a scout leader. I led a Cub Scout day camp. I was a band booster. I rode the bus to Florida several times on those overnight trips down to Disney and Universal. I also was a not-for-profit director, so I've worked with the community actually in the 3-county area and adult literacy. And so that's a background that I think also helps me make this leap to the city council, because I know what it's been like to have to watch your budget, to really pinch pennies. We counted paper clips in that agency. We were on the edge all the time.
That's good to know, because people are going to ask for you to do the same thing as mayor.
I realize that,
no, I joked about the petition process, and only because of the weather itself that makes it so inconvenient. But we like to highlight on this program for people wanting to get involved, whether it's run for office or help with the petitions, because we always say if you take out a petition for a candidate, you're their best friend for eternity, because it's such a process. You just getting into this process, what did you think of the petition season?
Well, I thought the party line petition season was cold.
Yes, I know. January,
February, March, the wind was blowing.
I know.
But you know what? It was really a treat to go out and meet people. Bill Boland organized that petition process, and he gave me the north side because
Okay.
it's an area where I know fewer people, and it was a great opportunity to talk to some folks and find out what's on their mind.
I think that's the best part, because we do complain about the weather aspect to it, but as somebody who's been a candidate themselves, I learned more knocking on the doors and what really affects people's day-to-day life that you're going to be directly affecting. I think it really is a beneficial process. It's just the weather stinks.
Yeah.
Right? We can all agree. That's bipartisan. That the
That's
weather.
right. That's right.
When you were knocking on doors, what were people telling you? What were their biggest concerns?
Streets were top of mind
Yeah.
for a lot of
Oh,
people.
sure.
And we know during the wintertime we have potholes everywhere.
I know.
That was a huge thing. Sidewalk condition has also emerged
Mm-hmm.
as a big concern of people's. Walking around, I can see that the system is not continuous. You're on a part of a block where you're on a sidewalk, and then you're on grass and it's muddy, and you move to the street. And I'm also hearing from people that they're concerned about safe walking routes to the schools, the high school in particular. There are not too many crosswalks over in Houghton Plot where kids can cross over if they're heading to the high school.
That's a very interesting point. So those are things that, like I said, I would not have known if you didn't go knock on the doors and get those kind of suggestions. You mentioned Bill Bolin, by the way, and he's already endorsed you. He was out quick.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
I really appreciate Bill's
Yeah.
confidence in me. That means a lot.
Yeah. So when you look at running for mayor, and we're going to talk about the comprehensive because people want to know about that too. But what would you say, other than what you talked about from voters, what are your personal goals as mayor?
Well, one of the things that I so admire about what Bill has done is that he has made city government a cooperative effort.
Yes.
And I really want to continue that. And, you mentioned petitioning. I'm still circulating petitions now on an independent line.
Yeah.
And I'm calling it the common ground line because I really want to find common ground with other members of the council to solve the problems that the city's facing. Big ones, implementing the comp plan. I mentioned before that's really what I'm mostly focused on. There are issues about housing affordability and housing condition, which, by the way, I heard a lot of from people when I've talked to them in the petitioning process. How can we deal with a number of abandoned houses in the community, empty lots? Economic development is another big concern. We have a lot of empty building sites, not just building sites, but empty buildings themselves. And some of them are industrial and corporate buildings. Some of them are shopping centers. Some of them are some of our older institutional buildings that have a lot of historic value. And we want to find a way to keep them vital and keep them part of the tax base.
And how has, when you've been knocking on doors and people learning about you and learning about your campaign, how has the support been overall?
It's been really gratifying. Yeah. I've had a lot of support from the people I've talked to, and I appreciate that so much.
Yeah.
Well,
again, you never know, right, when you get into politics, and we always joke that everybody focuses on the national, right? And it's not really a joke, but when it gets to local level, that kind of R&D just goes away, and it's more about, like you said, sidewalks.
That's right.
And the pothole in front of my driveway, those type of things.
Yeah, you want your water to be clean.
Right,
you want to be able to flush when
Right.
it's starting to flush. You want to be able to count on the police coming and the fire department coming when you call them, and those are really the issues of local government.
And I know last time we talked to Mayor Bolin on the show, which wasn't all that long ago, we were talking about the comprehensive plan because we wanted to spread the word. I know that's been a huge passion of his, and it sounds like it's obviously a passion of yours. How's that process going?
It's moving along pretty smartly now. We have a set of proposed recommendations, some goals, some strategies. We're working on putting together some projects. By the time this airs, we will have had another meeting of the committee. It's Thursday afternoon, but there are going to be opportunities for the public to get involved still ahead, because the next step will be drafting the whole plan itself,
Right.
and that'll be presented to the public in another workshop.
I've been pleasantly surprised about the public involvement with this. When you see the public forums and things like that you had, people weren't just sitting on the sidelines.
No, they came and they stayed and they talked with one another about the issues that we were presenting to them. They talked to the city staff, they talked to the consultants. That was really gratifying. We were really careful the last time we had workshops too to place them in different parts of the community. So we had one at Severn School, we had one at a church on the north side, we had one in the library, and we got a really wide range of ages and people from the community, and that was really good to see.
Was there anything that surprised you that you heard from the public?
I guess Maybe what was surprising is the amount of agreement about the vision that we have for the city.
Oh, that's nice.
I think there are all things that we can agree that we enjoy about Corning, and I think we all have some concerns that Corning stay the way that it is. The positive features that we enjoy about the community are there for others later.
Now, is there a time frame on the comprehensive plan?
Yeah. The deadline is by the end of the year, and I think we're really hoping to beat that by a couple of months.
Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, why is there specifically a deadline on it? As someone that doesn't understand.
Yeah, the process is grant funded by the state of New York, and so they give us a timeline.
Okay. Say no more. Now I understand with the grant process. Have you been proud of your work with the comprehensive plan?
I have. We've had a great team of consultants who've worked on it, and they've listened well to what the city's been doing, and they've given us back some great things to think about. The committee itself represents people from a wide variety of places in Corning, so it's good to see everybody coming together in the civic engagement.
Well, again, we're talking with Pam Walker. She's candidate for Corning mayor. Just before we go, how can people help your campaign?
Answer the door when I come and knock. I'm going to be carrying my petition around, and I'd love to meet more people. I'd really love to hear what people are thinking. I don't have social media up yet, but there will be a Facebook page soon.
And we'll have you on the program again. Obviously, there's plenty of time. Just to make it clear for people, because I'm going to be talking primaries a lot, we're talking about your campaign in November. So it's a ways off. We wanted to let people get to know you and know more about your campaign. And like you said, open the door.
Yeah, thanks.
Ring cameras are a blessing and a curse, aren't they? They're good for security. But I know when I'm knocking on to get petition signed and I'm wet from it raining and I look like a drowned dog, no one wants to answer their door. I want to answer the door for me. So it's quite a process. But thank you so much for giving us so much time, and let's talk again real soon, and keep us updated when the website and the Facebook page are up.
Will do. Thank you, Frank.
Great. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, stay with us.